a Radiostat Zero broadcast. Whoa, hold on. That's not what the show is. Let's go get it. Geez, it feels like forever since I've streamed, and now what do I come into? A Chit show. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chit. Looks like we got Amanda saying, Vampire Crew. Not really. Welcome, Amanda. Welcome to the nest. Citizen Ronan, I'll have my Chit shaken, not stirred. I don't know how I feel about that, but welcome to the nest, Citizen Ronan. Creative Faye, Chit, and a chat. Hi, all. Welcome to the nest to you. Michael DJ, welcome to the nest. Hello. He says, ladies. Hello, ladies. It's like that, probably. I'm guessing. Judge Danny, welcome to the nest. Stat, you're guilty of aerial vandalism. Your sentence is 504 hours in the drama videos. Oh, shoot. No. Please. There's something. You got to be able to do something about that. Wait, you know what? Hold on a second. Blast it. You can't ISO cube me. You can't community service me. As a matter of fact, I think that I got to sentence you to sitting in a chit chat place and having a good time, hopefully. welcome to the nest. Where was I? Tuxedo. There we go. Marcus Killiger, welcome to the nest. Aline, welcome to the nest. What's this Chit? Michael Bancroft, welcome to the nest. The Chit, of course, is the sibling show of the chat. When they're on break, when they're taking their hiatus, usually I try to open up. I try to come back, and I wasn't there last time either, so I got some community service, like Judge Janney was saying. I got some stuff to do. So what I did is I put a bunch of polls up. And they're all unfortunately ended now. There is that one poll in the chat too. That's sitting there for you to answer as well, because we do a lot of polls on the show, a lot more than the chat. And this first one, this is like a gimme poll, right? Should we talk about this on the Chit? Yes, it looks like we shall. 18 votes. This was the smallest. The rules go, I put up like five, six polls, and the ones that scored the most responses are way out there at the end, and it kind of goes either way, or it goes in lightning order back. Creative Faces saw Aaron Lopresti yesterday and today at SummerCon. Cool. Judge Stat has been corrupted. Never. Not even close. Me and my pet goldfish. We're gonna dispense justice everywhere. Yeah. All right. So anyways, yes, let's get this one out of here. 18 voted. 88% said yes. Yes, talk about this stuff on the Chit. So now this first one, digital versus physical. Taking a temp on this. Did I shit on Danny's car? I haven't gotten out yet. I gotta get some bran. I gotta get that stuff going in the stomach. Then I can maybe venture out and find some unlucky jerk's car to trash. Now, I don't know about you guys, but as far as digital versus physical, usually I use digital for to give it a shot. Like I'll look through it, maybe read it. If I really like it, I'll buy the book. If it's in print, sometimes you just got to get it. If it's out of print, digital, there's just no other way. But as a rule, I'm more of a physical guy. You know, I like having that book in my hand, and especially, there's some of these epic collections that I'd gotten. Just a few months ago, they were fine. Now they're like $200 to try to get them because they're out of print. That's just how fast things move in the publishing world. So they're still online digital for like $15-20. But once you miss that shot, it's gone. So I feel like it is important. Dom DeLay says he's gonna read digital for the most part, collect the trade usually. Mr. Von Stugel, welcome to the nest. Says best behavior. We always try. And he's got himself a Danny icon too. I don't know if that's gonna trigger Citizen Ronin or not, but Wooly likes both. Digital is good for trying out a title. I agree with that. What is this? Dracarys. Reading sometimes, but it varies. Obviously, owning and collecting. There's a heck of a Bristolian Dave. Physical is the only way he goes. Physical preferred, but sometimes just digital is what your record. Crenshaw says. Stippling Vod says always physical. Another one, 100% always physical. It's not important, Gordon says, but still prefer physical. There's Judge Stugel. Hello, Judge Stugel. We know that guy. Read very few digital comics, even pirated. Hardly ever read them. You know, I think the best example of the whole like trying stuff out is digital, and this might be heresy to some. I bought, because it was like on some crazy cheap sale. I bought like the entirety of like the Onslaught saga for X-Men, and I think Zero Tolerance, maybe Age of Apocalypse. I was reading through those, and I could not believe just how bloated they were. I'm actually glad that I didn't grab them from my shelves, because I don't think I would have read them again. Boy, oh boy, there's lots of just kind of backtracking and kind of saying the same lines and stuff like that. Marcus Killiger was at Heroes Con last week. Says I was a seat filler for Andy, Fraga, PTP, Billy, and Rich. Wow, nice. So they can run off, get some books, go to the bathroom, things like that. Nice. That's a good service. It's almost like a designated driver for cons. Says Rona says I never really liked digital at any type of book. I remember when everybody was buying e-readers. Oh yeah, I remember the back when they had the Nook, when Barnes and Noble was bigger and they had the Nook to try to compete with the Kindle. And then the Kindle made the Fire tablet, which blew them out of the water. I've got a Fire tablet, so I do have a bunch of comics on there, and I do look at those from time to time. Sometimes, like, I know I won't want to have it on my shelf, because space sometimes is a deal. I won't want to have it on my shelf, but I kind of want to read it, so I will. Or maybe I don't care much for the art, but I do want to read the story, or vice versa. That's a great way to try it out. But if you get done with it and you think, wow, I was really wrong, you go find the book and get it, maybe on eBay, Amazon, whatever. But yeah, for me, it's a great, like, try it out. And I mean, sometimes now you get stuff on sale cheaply. It's usually $10. Sometimes they'll sell it for $4. And you can grab that, and then if you really like it, it seems like a lot of people seem to do that. So split between I'll try it out, and you just like my tradition. But you know what? That seems to be what brought us here, right? Like physical, collecting physical, having that in your hands. Small run prints or small run books and stuff like that makes it a little more special. So I could see why this poll would come out the way it was. 42 people voted on this one, by the way. Amanda says, I have a Kindle Fire, but since I've gotten an iPad, I pull up my e-readers and comics on that. Well, I mean, Amazon's got their Kindle app on pretty much everything. So, you know, you can transfer that from place to place. It's really handy. Stippling Vaughn, welcome to the nest. This Garden State Comic-Con was a blast. I'm glad to hear it. I really like when people have fun at those cons. I haven't been to one in 15 some odd years, but hey, it's always wonderful to hear people go and they have a great time, and there's no incidents and there's no people getting nasty with each other, or like Marcus got to meet Stippling Vaughn at Heroes Con. Cool. I have met him online, of course. Good dude. But yes, it's always nice to hear. I always really like hearing people say, like, you know, I met this artist or this writer and they were awesome, versus, you know, the whole never meet your heroes thing. That's really disappointing. And sometimes they have bad days, just like you or me, right? But I mean, like, when it becomes kind of a pattern, you just kind of think to yourself, maybe I'll just stick to just reading their stuff. Or worse, oh man, I can't even read that or listen to that anymore. It's always sad to see, and we've seen plenty of that. in the last few years. That's for sure. So that's a pretty cut and dry one. Next one. What are we at? 10 minutes already? Yes. If we do about 10 minutes of each of these, right, it amounts to about an hour and a half or hour-long show. And for a tiny little show like this, that's about perfect. Sipling Vaughn says, Heroes Con, I meet all these great people. I go to Jersey and I get put to work. Oh, wow. Marcus Killiger says he talked to Jim Shooter for over 2 hours at the hotel bar. I've heard that. I've heard Shooter is like unbelievably generous with his time. You ask him a question or whatever, he'll just start telling you stories. I've heard that more than once. Creative Face says, I also met John Cleese today and Ron Perlman. Really? I hope they were good to you. I've heard John Cleese is fairly decent, and Perlman can be hit and miss. I don't know how he is with his fans. Of course, he's a very political dude, but hopefully with his fans, he's very gracious and whatnot. But that's cool to hear. That's cool to hear. Okay, so this one, have you gone back to some extent to Dark Horse, Image, DC, Marvel, Dynamite? They were both kind. I'm glad to hear it. Very glad to hear it. Now, no is the one, 60 votes on this. No has won it. Most people did not go back at all to Dark Horse and the what do you call it? The corporate independent or the mainstream. Or you call it mainstream independent and the mainstream, I don't know. Anyways, corporate independent, Image, Dark Horse, Dynamite, and then you got your mainstream DC, Marvel. Most people didn't go back. I would probably put myself in the 23.3% right there. The reprints I have bought. We are in like a crazy creative golden age of reprints that are cheap. DC puts out those compendiums that are like $35 for 1,000 pages. Marvel does their epic collections. DC or Image does these big compendiums. Old Dirty Fatty, welcome to the nest. It's good to see you. There's no back for me, Amanda says. It's CG. It even rhymes. I like it. It's like a slogan if I ever saw one. But yeah, I'll buy like big runs of old stuff. I don't think I'd buy anything pre or post 2015, maybe 2014, something like that. Everything before that, I could probably find some decent stuff, but past that, I mean, even with movies and stuff, movies and music, it's getting harder to enjoy absolutely any of it for me. So we got 100 years of stuff to go back and explore. I say go find what you can. Von Stugel says, yes, in fact, I bought Batman vs. Predator and Body Bags Volume 2 this week. Oh, cool. I've got the, I bought it a while ago, but they have the Batman vs. Predator, like all three stories in one. There's the DC Dark Horse crossover books. They made like 4 or 5 volumes. Those are great stories. Mugen One, welcome to the nest. This is hail, everybody. Hey, buddy. Amanda says that panel you showed, Stugel. Was that the Predator one? Oh, okay. She's talking to Stugel. 11% never left. They're still buying. It's just all about the comics. They're buying whatever they can. 23.3. They'll buy the reprints and maybe some new stuff. I know a lot of people are really getting into that Ghost Machine stuff over at Image. They're kind of like the Jeff Johns stuff. I hear quite a few people talking about that and getting into that as for like their new comics that come out monthly. Marcus says, I also spoke to Shane and Yanzi. Very nice guy. And we saw his new cover. Awesome. That's cool. I got to admit, for as much as I kind of thought I knew, you don't really know much about some of these YouTubers until you really meet them in person. I mean, in terms of how they handle people. Because when you're on screen, a lot of times it's a bit different. And Shane does have his persona, like cracking them jokes and stuff. So I'm glad to see that in real life, he's a lot more like makes the people happy. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear it. Amanda's asking if he didn't ask you for $5. I doubt he was in his mange. I think I saw a picture. Maybe it was a Stippling Vaughn with Shane and Yanzi. Are they both smiling nicely? And Shane was not in the mange persona. I'll have to check them. Yeah, Ghost Machine. They seem to be making a bit of a splash over at Image with what Jeff Johns, and there's a few others. They each got like 3 or 4 books. Must be, maybe 5. But in point of fact, most people are happy to just go ahead and stick with their crowdfunding stuff here. 48.3% out of 60 votes say no, they haven't gone back in any capacity to the old stomping grounds. They're mostly happy to just get their few books a year, talk about those maybe, or just talk about what the creators are doing. You know how it is sometimes. And then there's people other. Marcus Kilger didn't go back. Donald DeLay never left Image. Stippling Vaughn says he was behaved. He had his mom-in-law with him. Oh, he brought the chaperone. Vaughn says yes. Yes, he did. Crenshaw says checked out your Image periodically, but not so much the rest. Capullo might get him a visit from X-Men. I didn't realize Capullo was on. I have no idea what's going on in the Big Two. Yep, but Jess Reese is very picky about it. Only writers and artists that he knows. He's good without that propaganda. David M. goes back issues. Mostly stuff before 2000 for Stugel. Sure. I kind of agree. I mean, I'll go a little further. Dr. Mask, welcome to the nest. It's great to see you, man. Dark Horse and Dynamite for Alfredo Dante on occasion. The rest, nope. Euro comics all the way. Indies and Euro comics. I've been finding some great Euro comics here and there too lately. Yankee Frankie likes that manga. Creative Faye, right? Creative Faye in the chat here. Wouldn't say gone back. Besides crowdfunding comics, been reading some Image's new stuff like Fish Flies and Napalm Lullaby. I also got into some Frank Miller Presents Pandora. Yeah, Frank Miller. That documentary didn't come to our town, so I didn't get to see it. Citizen Ronan, attempting to steer the show, and that's fine. Says not to go off topic, but do you think that the pirate book Aldous was talking about, what do you think of the pirate? Is it worth buying? I know the art is great. I have all 4 volumes. It's not terribly expensive. He's referring to the Long John Silver. It's put out by this company called Cinebook, and they're not hardcovers like normal. They're cheap. So I mean, you can get them pretty cheap. I would say yes. It's like a sequel to Treasure Island, right? And it's kind of like got a little bit of supernatural stuff, but it wasn't bad. It was pretty good. Hey, Phil with 2 L's. Welcome to the nest. Good to see you. So yeah, I would say so. I've got them. I've got those. I got the Lucky Luke reboot. I got some Black Sad. That Cinebook. I got to look into that publisher, Cinebook. They look like they've got some other interesting tough stuff too. I think they got some like Robin Hood kind of stuff and whatnot. So I would say yes. I haven't read all of the Long John Silver yet. I've done some flip throughs and looked through them, but definitely going to get into that. Well, Marcus is another great person he met. Phil. It's always great to hear. All right, so I think we got. Hey, we're right on track. About 18 minutes in, we've gotten 2 of these polls talked about. Not bad at all. So yeah, no, most people are not going back. I would have to put myself, if I'm honest, in the reprints and new stuff. I will get a big compendium or an edition of a good story from back in the day. That's true. And I mean, even Dan DiDio had said, Jolly Green, he didn't say Jolly Green, welcome to the nest, but Jolly Green, welcome to the nest. Dan DiDio had said their reprints were selling out. Their facsimile editions, when they were doing those are outselling their new stuff. It doesn't surprise me during the, after Rebirth, post-Rebirth stuff. And it doesn't surprise me at all. Dark Horse had said that manga, their reprint or their brought over manga stuff takes up like 70% of their sales. You believe that? I do. But Dale A, welcome to the nest. If you buy back issues, it doesn't count. I feel like it does. It shouldn't, but I feel like it does. Because you're still going back to the publishers and stuff. But if you say so, man, hey. Yeah, well, I mean, now, how do you get into it when they actually sell like a new book, a new edition of a ton of old issues. You know what I mean? Like you're actually buying, like, say, a new DC compendium that's got all kinds of stuff from like the early 90s in it or late 80s. It's still old stuff. I suppose back issues only they only benefit the comic book store that you're going to. Get your day entertainment how you can, Dale. That's what Amanda says. She says, good business is wherever you find it. Just like that bad guy on RoboCop. Dick, you're fired. Thank you. All right, so let's look at this one. Where are you getting your comics? Oh, Jolly Green ordered the G.I. Joe. Did you kickstart that, or did you pre-order it from Amazon? Because I've got it on my wish list thing, and I'm going to probably get that from Amazon, the softcover one. That's probably a lot cheaper than going with the hardcover type one. I'm going to get the G.I. Joe stuff. I think those old Larry Hama, Herb Trimpe stuff. Yeah, Amanda, that's the one that Stip and I were talking about. It's like, it's like 1,000 pages. It's at the moment, it's like $58 or something like that, but it'll come down. And I've got Amazon credit, so it's like 55 issues. Some great war stories in there. Tell you what, a lot of fun. Oh, you got the Kickstarter, has a ton of stretch goal perks. I bet it does. It got like over $2.2 million or something like that by its end. Ridiculous. It was monstrous campaign. It's awesome. Transformers one's coming too. Marcus Killigrew says, I did get artisan editions for my birthday and the Christmas last year. They're from Ooh, what did you get? I got the Rocketeer and the Spider-Man comic strips. They're friggin' great. Love that like soft satin paper. And 2.7 million. Jolly Green says, hot dang. Everybody likes the old G.I. Joe. Didn't they have another G.I. Joe thing about 3 months ago? How are they different? I think what you're talking about, they restarted the series, or they continued the series over at IDW with Transformers and something else. So they're doing new issues of G.I. Joe. I think Larry Hama is actually still writing it. Oh my gosh, he wrote all 155 issues of the old G.I. Joes, and he's just going to keep on continuing. But yeah, they restarted. They got the license from IDW along with Transformers, I think, and whatever Hasbro stuff. And they're continuing it on. That's what the other thing was. People were buying those. IDW is still in business. They do. Let's see. They do the artist editions, of which the next one I think that I'm going to get at least is the Batman Year One coming out in August. They've got, I think Turtles is the last really big license that they've got. They got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Maybe a couple others. They're much smaller than they were. 5-10 years ago, they were huge. I liked IDW a lot. And before that, they were doing a lot of horror books and stuff. Marcus says, I got the John Romita and Gil Kane Spider-Mans, Kirby FF, and John Buscema Silver Surfer. My sister does well. Oh, I've got a couple of those in artisan editions. I've got the John Romita Spider-Man, Spirit, and Batman, or Daredevil Born Again. Those are great, the artisan editions, because you still get to see everything, but they're much smaller, and they're really affordable. Yeah, IDW's Ninja Turtles, Sonic, Godzilla, and Star Trek at the moment. So they still got some licenses. They're still doing okay. Their Ghostbuster run, I remember being pretty darn good. And they had that going it was like the same team going on that thing for like 10 years. That's unheard of nowadays. You don't see a run like that anymore. It's crazy. But I don't know that it was a good series. It didn't, I guess it didn't make those waves. It was just consistent and reliable. You know what I mean? All right. So 29.2. Oh, I didn't know this. I didn't even look at this before it ended. 65 votes. Amazon, online retail. And I'm talking, of course, like, half price books, Goodwill, these, some like declutter store, whatever like that, those kind of things. Amazon. What else? Thrift books is another one. That kind of stuff. Those used bookstore sites. I love half price books and thrift books. Amazon's got some stuff, but sometimes I'll just go into the secondary sellers and I'll find stuff from thrift books or half price much cheaper than what Amazon's doing. And they're good condition used books. So that's usually what I go with. Man, it's got that G.I. Joe compendium in the chat if you're looking at it. If you're looking at it right now, I think it's like digital only is like $120, and then it's like 300 for the 4 hardcovers in a case, something like that. It's crazy. I'm just gonna wait for the paperbacks. I think get them a little bit at a time because they're friggin' expensive. But it's awesome. I used to love A Real American Hero, and the covers. If we have time, I'll have to show you a couple covers. They don't make a wasted cover in the whole thing. They're just great. It's usually like someone's got a gun pointed at them. You're like, what the heck? How are they gonna make it? Anyways, so we got a split between Amazon and the like, and just crowdfunding. 23.1 going to that local comic shop, and then we've got others doing like eBay. It's like all this here has got eBay estate auctions, things like that. Something I hadn't considered. Amazon and crowdfunding for delay, digital for Otis Frampton, print for, so gets a little both. Online store, A and B, that's Amanda. All of the above. This David Bertrand, he gets all of it. You don't care where it is. Stipling says Larry Hama is the last consistent writer on a book. You know what's crazy? When I was a kid, Dr. Mass's G.I. Joe #1 is a great first issue comic. When I was a kid, I didn't know this, but the character Tunnel Rat was actually kind of based on Larry Hama. And he was my favorite. I had a Tunnel Rat G.I. Joe, and he was just the coolest freaking character, I thought. Angela Curry, welcome to the nest. It's great to see you. Welcome to the Chit. Combination all three. That's DCBS. I'm not 100% sure what that is. Crowdfunding, comic book shows, eBay. eBay, crowdfunding, and in-stock trades, Judge Stugel says. Just Reese, all of the above. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of eBay and going to comic shows and stuff like that too. I suppose that's the problem with these polls is you can only have four options, right? So I got to put other because it's like, obviously if you put all of the above, everybody's just going to choose that. So you try to avoid that kind of thing. You give a couple of extremes, maybe a middling one, and then just like what else you got in the comments. That's usually how I run the polls. But hey, it's nice to know I'm not the only one getting most of my books from, because I mean, you get a few a year. You got to look out and get some. Dr. Mass says, I like the rock and roll figure because he had a motorcycle with a Gatling gun. I had that. My brother had a ton of them. He gave them to me, but unfortunately, the mice destroyed them, and most of the toys that both my brothers had given to me, my Masters of the Universe, Transformers, G.I. Joes, I had Turtles, I had Ghostbusters, all of that stuff gone. Mice made a nest in it for a couple of years, and I didn't know about it. It's horrible. But we're about right on schedule, 28 minutes in. So yeah, doesn't surprise me that most people are getting it crowdfunded only. Yeah, the dang mice, that's right. But I kind of wonder, I should have put a poll up. Well, never mind. I was going to say, where are you getting your comics? Indiegogo, you're crowdfunding Indiegogo, Fund My Comic, Kickstarter, and Indiegogo is probably going to take it, if I'm honest, right? That's kind of where people still sort of go. Some to Fund My Comic. You can look at Mike Barron's Nexus and kind of see what's going on there. Like Indiegogo is a solid first, then Kickstarter, and then after Kickstarter, you see like a decent little amount on Fund My Comic. Or creator sites, Bancroft says. Yeah, I've gotten a few things from creator sites. Usually it's like if they have art books, I've gotten a few art books from creator sites. I'm not afraid of that. I haven't gotten a ton of comics. I might, but typically it was always art books that I bought, like the art of, or like the big sketchbooks that they do. Some artists will do those like nice lavish art of, or just like a nice big sketchbook. Softcover, hardcover, doesn't matter. I'm a sucker for that stuff. I really am. It's really, really cool to see half-finished sketches and their process and stuff. Can't help it. I can't help it. Okay, so yes, I think this one's. I suppose online retail would kind of go with creator sites as well too. People get that there, and I've gotten Yeah, that's 100%. He's wearing his 9 Lives hat. Okay, next. This one here. How many comic book streaming shows do you retain now? When I first started, 2020, there weren't a ton. And then 2021, 2020, part of 2022, there were so freaking many of these comic book shows. I had to watch them in 2 times just to kind of get through them, or just start picking my favorites. I had so many. And then after a while, you had to kind of scale it back. You know what I mean? Like, because it was eating up a lot of time. Marcus says he backed Shane's book on 9 Lives Comics. I think I might have gotten it on Indiegogo. I back Alterna on their site. It's much easier than it is on Indiegogo or whatever. But I from what I understand, Shane's site's a pretty decent alternative to the other stuff. Most people now see this one. I know 1 to 8 shows is a very broad title, so it's no surprise that 1. But with the 4, the 4 things, I suppose I could have just done like 1 to 5, 5 to 9, 10 plus, and forgotten the other. But hindsight. Looks like a lot of people are kind of in that one. There's 29% here of the 82 that say none. They don't watch them anymore. And the 1% says they got 10 plus shows they're watching. I'm probably I got 5, 6 shows that I regularly watch, I suppose, or at least watch the replay, because a lot of times they're going on when I can't watch. I'm able to pop in to say hello, and then if somebody randomly streams, does it count? I think so. I think it does. Because I know we're used to like a very set schedule and time, but I know for me, I'll go all kinds of different times just to say hi to different people. Some people can't watch at night because, like Don DeLay was saying on here, at one point, he was saying, he'd like to see me live, but I'm usually streaming when he's putting the kids to bed and kind of dealing with them and everything. So I try to go all over the place. Amanda says, I think I don't appreciate when creator sites that I've never remember the password logging in twice a year and need to recover that password, so it's harder to remember what I backed. That's fair, I suppose. You could use your same password for absolutely everything you do. That's efficient. Don't do that. But yeah, we got Amanda's going 1 to 8. She's questioning me. That's okay. It's all right. But she's kind of the same with me. She'll peek in, say hi, maybe watch some replay. This guy's watching Creative Faye here. Not Creative. This guy. Creative Faye is watching about 6. Somebody tell me watch their show. Just one from guy from New Jersey. But yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I feel like shows have kind of not fallen down, but kind of moved back. And I've certainly not been able to watch nearly as much as I want to. But then again, when you've got multiple shows talking the same exact stuff, just picking one and watching it kind of covers most of the rest of it, I almost feel. That's what I do. My code is 1234. That's the same thing I got on my luggage. But this big number here, this 29%, it'll tie into one later that we're going to talk about, a poll here. None. I feel like there is a substantial amount of the people that have kind of walked away from YouTube. Michael Bancroft asks, comic book streaming shows or random shows put on by comic book creators? There is a distinction. It's funny. If you try to find any kind of a comic book community outside of Comicsgate, this is what I've noticed, and I've talked about this with others, you don't really find a lot of what we're used to here. I think most of the comic book communities you find are either... So you've got some pros doing draw streams. There's a small amount pros doing draw streams like David Finch. I find that comic book YouTube kind of splits into 3 different things. You've got the documentaries and retrospectives. You've got the guys that are like, I just bought this omnibus. Let's put it on the table and take a look at it. Let's look at my collection type guys. So they kind of show them off. And then you've got the guys that kind of try to do the comic book news commentary on that stuff, or they're kind of doing like they're sort of not participating in, they're just reviewing a book or 2. Those are kind of the three things that fall into outside of comic book or Comicsgate. Comicsgate, there's a lot of back and forth with either with fan shows talking to fans, or with creators talking to fans. Sometimes creators talking to creators. There's a lot of back and forth. But regular comic YouTube, I find is a little bit more like hands off, unless you're talking in the comments or something like that. Like I said, it's either take a look at my collection. Here's what's going on in the comic news. Sometimes you get comic book interviews with people. That's a little more rare, or just like documentaries about, retrospectives about comic stories or people, something like that. Those are the 3 main things that I find. And it's really great to listen to a draw or something like that. But in terms of interaction and engagement, it's pretty low. It's very low. Dale says, don't forget about instructional videos on how to make comics. That's fair. I suppose there's quite a few of those. I usually don't need to look at that stuff. I look for, more animation or animating things to learn on that front as far as drawing goes. But yeah, that's true. You're right. Old Dirty Fattest says, I got to tell you, the Crapcast was hilarious last night. Crapcast. I got to tell you, I don't even know what that is, man. Stippling Vaughn says, I'm impressed by how well some of the draw streams are going. Are you talking like CG guys, or like just overall like the Dave Finch? Dave Finch ones are pretty big. I noticed he gets all kinds of people on there. That's an interesting channel. Oh, Wiggles. I don't think that's the bird scene. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what language you guys are speaking, but I'm gonna have to get on that Duolingo, and I'm gonna go over to like internet show language. Click, and then hopefully I'll be able to Wiggles. I think that name sounds familiar, but is that like a kind of a slums or slums adjacent show? I'm thinking. Dark Gift had 50 watching him the other day. Very encouraging. Now that I believe is slums, correct? So that show seems to be gaining momentum. Not necessarily my type of thing, because I have been kind of backing up from some of the more like stuff covering the craziness that happens all around us. Dark Gift has a draw stream. Is that what you're saying? Oh, it's slums, all right. Okay. CG guys, primarily multiple people drawing at a time. Yeah, they call those, at least I hear, they call them bullpen streams. That's what I've come to understand them as, where you got multiple people, they all got the cameras pointed at their page or whatever, and they sit and talk and they draw. Oh no, his pure draw stream, just drawing. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know about that. That's awesome. I love seeing that, because we got like J-Bot does the same thing with his little crew of like, I know Hockey's there and Jason's there sometimes. They sit and they just talk and draw. I love that. Sometimes I'll sit and I'll kind of be in the chat, but I'll just draw right next to him. Aaron's Graybeards, same thing. They just sit and talk and draw, and I can comfortably sit and talk and like listen to it, and kind of, that's like the ultimate hands-on for like an artist, somebody that likes to sit and draw with people in a group, Marcus says, hey, you guys didn't watch me on John's Longbox news show. It's clobbering time. I didn't know he had a new show. I've been kind of out of it lately with the internet. If I'm honest, I haven't even been on Twitter that much. I'll have to go look. Outer Pangea is definitely not the bird's bag. I'll take that under consideration. Thanks, guys. Aaron Lopresti does the best bullpen show on YouTube. I really like Graybeards. That is a great show. I wish there was more like it. Old Dirty Fatty was there, Marcus. Gotta mean something. So at least, I kind of, next time I do a poll like this, Lord knows when, for another Chit, I gotta wonder what people are liking in draw streams. Is there the kind where people just kind of all draw their own thing, or if they have a prompt, or if they have everybody's going to draw a rogue or something like that. I like how Aaron does it, where he puts up the poll, people kind of vote for which one they want to see, and then they all get in there and just give everybody crap while they actually love the drawings. That's a great formula. And the crew that's on the Graybeards, Kelsey, David, Gary, Aaron, hilarious. They play off so well off of each other, giving each other crap the whole time, but it's not malicious. That's the best. See, that's the key, right? It's not really malicious. They're not really digging at each other. It's fun, and everybody knows it's fun, including them. And you can just relax and have a laugh versus there's a hush that fell over the room. How is this going to play out on Twitter? They'll never stream again together. Dr. Mass says he tends to watch smaller shows that you can actually chat back and forth. I don't super chat much. I'd rather buy a book. Fair enough. I like smaller channels too. It's funny when they get big, you get 50, 70, 80 in the chat, and it's harder to keep up with the chat, and you don't get that interaction. It kind of changes the dynamic of the show. Now, I mean, you can still have a good show where they just put it on for you, because I think at that point you almost have to switch to the fly on the wall perspective. If you're having an interview and you have two people, just allow them to kind of fall into a really organic back and forth, like they're sitting at a table or something chatting. And then I think the chat usually has a good time listening to an uninterrupted conversation like that as well, once you get to a decent size. But typically, yeah, I like the smaller channels. This is a really small channel. I like that. I think the record for this channel is 23 viewing at once. That's a small channel, and that's only happens during the Chit because of you guys. That Chit open only happens every once in a while, and that's okay. So yeah, we still got people watching, but I don't feel that people are devoting a lot of their life to it like they did 2020, 2021. People get busy, Michael Bancroft says you can still interact up to about 150 people. I had 400 once. So it's beyond impossible to keep up. Wow, that's crazy. I couldn't even imagine trying to keep up. Vanessa gets behind in the chat, and she's usually in the 40s, I think. 20 to 80 is a sweet spot. I agree. That's not bad at all. Not that I've ever seen above the 23, but I it's nice to have a slight flow to the whole thing, and then people start to get into conversations with themselves, and you can kind of relax off a bit. I agree, but Michael, you do a great job handling the chat. It's always fun to go in there when I can catch it live. Everybody's so friggin' friendly, and I think that's because you set that pace and that atmosphere. And that's the audience you attract, and it is a great audience to have. Michael Bancroft's chat's always been one of the best chats. Heck, my first poll, I believe you were the one that won as far as most entertaining show, and that hasn't really changed. I love getting into your channel when I can. All right, next one. We're a little behind. That's all right. So people usually have some sort of a backup hobby for when things get really, really annoying. System Rona says when the show gets too big, super chats become the only way of interaction. No thanks. I wouldn't do that. I don't think I'm ever going to monetize this place. I don't think so. It just doesn't seem like it'd be worth it to me. And then having people pay to tell me something that they could tell me in the chat, it doesn't really click with me and my personality. It works for other people, and that's fine, and I support it. But Pancroft makes it harder by streaming to Rumble too. Right. I wonder how his Rumble stuff goes. it seems hard to get an audience on Rumble unless you are like like somebody like that has a very specific political or legal kind of profession or something like that with those kind of opinions. You can really get going well on Rumble, but basic stuff like comic books or something, I don't know if there's a huge audience there for that yet. This one. So yeah, usually we have some sort of a hobby to fall back on if things aren't going so great. You get into, and I've had this myself, you get into Twitter, X, whatever, and everybody's fighting, or there's like a meme that keeps on circulating, like the Hawk Tuah thing. That's just, it's a little much, right? But so you fall back to something else. Maybe reading regular, like prose books. Maybe games. Like get your old DS out, like I do sometimes, and play that, or an old PlayStation or something like that. When you're kind of just tired of like what you see, and then maybe reading comics sometimes, just reminding you. I've had people tell me this, like reading the comics kind of reminds me of all this crap I've gone through online, and I just have to take a break from it. Fair enough. So what is that, I was wondering? Michael Bancroft says, I get about 10 to 15 watching most nights. That's not bad. Sometimes as high as 20. Sometimes only 5. Shout out to the Rumble Gang, he says. We salute you, Rumble Gang. And Amanda's up back there going, shout out. She's like the hype man. When it's like in the back, there's usually the person in the back when someone's going, we will beat you. And it's like, that's right. We gonna beat you down. That's what Amanda's doing right now. I'm here for it. Jolly Green says, I started rewatching old shows instead of so many streams. Also organize my comics and reading them more often. Well, hey, like I said, there's 100 years of stuff to look back on. It seems like more and more companies are just reprinting all that old stuff versus coming up with new things, because you know how it is with these creators. Some of these creators now, drawing new stuff is hard. Michael Bancroft's right there with him watching House. Oh yeah, me and my wife, we went back to watching like a bunch of 90s sitcoms and stuff, because we got through a couple of newer stuff. Fallout, we're almost done with Fallout, and it was just like there are points where we just look at each other, because like here's that moment where they're trying to take a dig at somebody or a political position or something, and it's really, really boring. Old Dirty Fatty says, I'm going to start streaming someday soon because I have such an amazing personality, but I'm funny despite what Bancroft says. That's what he says. He's throwing that gauntlet down. Now, games looks like out of these 102 votes, this is the second highest poll, 102 votes, games. People fall back on games. They stop reading comics. They go pick themselves up a game, whether it's Call of Duty or Mario or, FIFA. A lot of people play FIFA or something. They get in and they play some Tetris. I love Tetris. Maybe people still play Tetris. I love Tetris. Movies and TV. Just relax on the couch. Watch some TV. That's 34% of that 102. Prose books, actually just getting back into novels. 11%. And now, see, Jason Stamberg says, he says Twitter polls. He go looking for Twitter polls when he's bored with comics. Movies and TV, although he's still studying it. He's going for prose books, old books and old movies. Michael Bancroft says he's listening to music. He's listening to more music. Monica Chubbs says all 3 plus the gym. Dave's got too many hobbies. Comics, games, movies, card games, pro wrestling, football. Just goes through phase. Just lily pads from one to the other, Michael Bancroft says, when you say games, I think backyard or board games with kids. I suppose that would fit too. I mean, you can get yourself out like a board game and play. They got tons of them that like you can play solo or with all kinds of people or something like that. Yeah, I would count that as well, I think. Dr. Mass started watching The Prisoner. Would have never seen it before. All good stuff that was there. What is Silicon Valley, Amanda asked? I don't think I've heard of that one. Oh, Jolly Green watched Sopranos and Silicon Valley. Keep him busy. That's like all these business dudes talking about business stuff and developing technology things. I think it's a drama. Yeah. Comedy. It's comedy. I never watched it. Stifling Bond says life. Life is what gets him. Pros for Chubb. Streaming shows for Telepathic Bunny. Hawk to see, there it is again for Coleman. We all know what that is by now. Marcus is watching Deadliest Catch. Nice. Games for Ziggs. No, all of the above option, the story being good, presented in all those certain better than types. So basically all above. Streaming on like Twitch and YouTube videos for Dave. Toys, specifically Transformers for Henry. Stoogel's got games, music, movies, and TV. Drew's creating his own entertainment. Creative Faye likes movies, TV shows, and prose books. AMD says everything. Comics aren't engaging anymore. Gosh, that's a sad post to see, isn't it? And you want to say, like you haven't found the right ones. Give them a recommendation. Shut this thing. What is this? There we go. Give them a recommendation and they find it and see it and they go, oh my gosh, this is great. I love comics again, but it doesn't always work out like that. What is this? Let's talk people out of a comic show. It seems like it sometimes, doesn't it? No, this is just what people are saying. I want to know what they're saying. I'm genuinely curious to, whether it's a plus or a minus, whether it's a like or a dislike. I'm genuinely curious to hear what people say about this stuff. Not so much the creators. I mean, although they can say that and I'll listen, their opinions on the creators, but just the overall temperature of comics, what they think and what comics they like, what they don't like, just kind of seeing where they are. I am interested in that. And if someone were to tell me I really like ISOM and what Eric July's doing, that's awesome. If someone comes up to me and the next person says I really don't like what he's doing, that's great too. Hopefully you've got something you do like, right? But Games has won this one, 39%. Now the final one. This one got a whopping 216 votes. Is your love for comics as strong as it was 2 to 4 years ago? And I say that because 2019, 2020, that's when things really rose around here for crowdfunded comics and people. Some would say it's like 2000, when did Ethan launch? Like 18? 18 or 17 or 18? And I suppose that could apply here too. I came in around late 2019. And I would probably count myself as yes. So I'm the only one who watches 1980s Johnny Carson. I'll watch some Johnny Carson every once in a while, some clips and stuff like that. I even go back further and watch some Dean Martin show or something like that. Okay, so yes, this was deadlocked for a while. It just kept on like evening and evening and evening. But 46.8 out of the 216 said yes, their love of comics is still as strong as it was 2 to 4 years ago. Now, almost half of this 216 said no, it's not. And I kind of wonder if, Gordon here says social media and the discourse of the comic space has really killed his desire to support things. Sometimes there's noise. Comics feels like a new influencer product. And I've noticed that sometimes too, where not for everybody, but it feels like this comic is like, whatever the comic is, it's almost like the end of season, the capper. You know what I mean? Like, so let's take Graham, for example. Not that he really does this, but let's just take it because he's had multiple books. So, you've got the Alien Alamo phase, the Chanu phase or season. He's campaigning for that. He's talking about it. He revolves a lot of stuff around it. And then it ends. He gets the book out, new season time. New season of the show for his YouTube show. Sorry, Rippaverse, not just ISOM anymore. Fair enough. I find that meeting and hanging out with CGers and creators makes me more enthusiastic about comics. Also bought Fiendish 1 and 2 from reading. Cool. When I get people that are genuinely excited about comics, it really does make me more excited about comics. Adam Lawson, right? That's Adam Lawson, right? Over at Pop XP, when he does his videos, he's been going to like different comic shops just busting in there and like talking about how great it is and showing off comics and recommends and stuff. That gets a person excited. I think it's awesome. I think that's a true ambassador move for comics. And I've even bought a couple off of kind of his recommendation because they look cool and I'd never heard of them before. Talking about some of these independent things. So he's the discourse is kind of the fighting has brought him down. Ben Art says he's in his first couple of years of fandom. The only experience he had was Lego Bionicle as a kid, Pirates of the Treasure Island graphic novel. Woolie's still there. Adam Lawson. Was it? No, who is it? It's Adam Lawson, Gifted Rebel Co. He goes to different. He does those comic streams, right? Well, you probably know he goes to different comic shops and he shows stuff off, or he's sitting at his desk and he's got like, I've got 5 like horror books you must read, sort of thing. Yeah, remember that come October. Yeah, I could see him winning, honestly. But yeah, his problem here, David Bertrand, he's got less time to enjoy them. And I find that I've got to carve out time to read comics, even if it's just, like an issue at night or a few pages. Sometimes I got to try to like break it up into a few days. Sometimes if it's a thicker book. Still love comics, this Highway Robbery. The creators, not so much. So this is one of those guys that wants to put Pandora, have Pandora close the box, and just not know anything about the creators anymore and just deal with their stories. I find a few people I've talked to are about that. Like, I just want to go back to knowing nothing about who's writing my books and drawing my books and just enjoy the characters as they are. Y2KNW. See, I still want to get into comics, but I think I'm gonna have to get good enough to do it himself. So this person's saying, I want to get good, do it myself, show everybody my visions. Most of the slap, it's the voice in your head, most of the slap made by people push political message, trying to get a Netflix deal instead of, so I think he's probably talking about like the bigger indie type stuff. It's hard to get into. Mash Manga's just, it's complicated. He's trying to get into it. Michael DJ says, like Jeremy Arison Fire said a while back, recent stuff in the corner soured the whole thing for me. So the recent stuff in this corner. I got drawn back into interest with your boy, talking about the old videos with buddies, comic fans where kids are young, eventually fell into the, let's look a little more into that. Oh, it's gone. Okay, so ISOM, see, Mike Henry liked ISOM. Ying Yan Zhao says, I'd say more, but reading, and they've been branching out, reading Superman from 1930, 39. So the early stuff. Yes to both as a creator and a reader. Linus Million. Actually stronger now for Tartan Ninja Studios. Left DC and Marvel behind, supporting indies. Let's see what we got over here. Yeah, sometimes people say, why don't you give your opinion on all this drama? To which I reply, you sure about that? And then you find that no matter what you say, it gets people mad. That's my stance on that is I typically don't have much of an opinion because it's like on the internet, we're kind of conditioned to react to everything. I use the example, you see some neighbors getting into a dispute the entire country away. So like, if I'm in Washington or in Oregon and there's this thing that takes the internet by storm about somebody in Connecticut fighting with each other, and I'm supposed to decide who I think's the good guy in the bag, it's really none of my business. They'll work it out, or the authorities will get involved or whatever. Doesn't matter to me. It's much the same in the comic space sometimes. For Vanessa watching me rerun, stop and apply my allergies. I hope Vanessa's doing okay. She's over at that music festival. It's like really, really warm there. More creators should probably just focus on creating. I agree, Michael Bancroft. I agree. It'd be interesting to see more creators revolve their channels around their characters, but the problem is I feel like sometimes that drives people away. Mr. Von Stugel says, you guys get to set solid rules for ambassador for the awards to slippery well qualifies. Don't do it, Bancroft. Yeah, Amanda's putting in Adam Lawson's enthusiastic comic suggestions into the chat. So you can take a look at that if you want to look at some like out of the way books. He shouts out some books that I've absolutely never heard of, and some decent looking ones at that. Old Dirty Fatty says, I like watching this. One guy who does shorts about his collection. He has a great sense of taste since we have most of the same stuff. He's also a pretty decent artist. Sweet. It's good to hear. Oh, man. Remember that come October, Von Stugel. From Vanessa watching me. I meant pretty good artists. I know what you meant, buddy. Don't worry about that. So what do we got here? Still loved comics before 1989. Creative Faces love comics has increased 2 to 4 years ago. Reading manga and now webtoons. Now I'm reading more Western comics, mostly creator owned. That's good to hear. Put other strong as it was 30 years ago. Awesome. It's a great storytelling medium. I just love it as much now as I did when I cracked open a Spidey issue at 6 years old. Nice. So King West's freaks like EVS and War Campaign destroyed comics for me. I'm sorry to hear that. With their sickening FOMO-sexual, never heard of that word, harassment of customers and sticking the pride flag and dildos on everything. Now it's Rainbow Garbage. I feel like a lot of that was happening when I was coming in at 2019, 2020. He's a pretty artist, yeah. But yes. So, hey, Hojo, welcome to the nest. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well too. So yes, it seems like now for my part, for what I can say is, I always had kind of a varied taste, but it was mostly stuck to your DC, your bigger stuff, some Image, some IDW, DC type stuff. And I'd go out of the way and get some DC Westerns, DC horror. But because of getting used to crowdfunding, because getting used to seeing stuff that's really out of the way, I've been taking chances on really weird experimental books. And for the most part, I've been pretty happy with what I've found. And it's just getting into the habit of looking at, different stuff and giving smaller creators chances. So I can say for that, it has increased my love, because I'm finding things that are great that would never ever work great for like cartoon or movie. They exist specifically in comics for comics, and I want to see more of that. I want to see stuff that a creator makes that they don't have an intention to create, or they're not creating it to make it a movie or a cartoon or something like that. They're creating it specifically for the purpose of experimenting and making a comic. I'd like to see more of that. And I'd like to see more landscape books too, dang it. I know I'm one of the few people that like them, but I like it, dang it. Hojo says, The Gutter is a great place to find good comics you might have missed. Yeah, I was just watching the Long John Silver's one and last night a little bit, and I've got those, so I can attest. Michael Bancroft is right there with you on that. Love finding those comic-specific surprises. It's true, and I mean, like since getting into the crowdfunding and stuff, I have opened up a little bit towards manga, but more towards the Euro stuff. I never really thought to look, and often it was like either very expensive or just out of print, or it's just like, for every 100 Euro books, you're going to find like 12 of them that are in English. The rest of them are in French, Spanish, or probably Norwegian, I'm thinking. Yeah, it's a shame too, because there's some beautiful freaking art in some of those. Amanda says, you ain't a true fan until you play I'll Be Loving You on repeat and imagine them singing it just for you. But yeah, so I mean, I can say for me, it has expanded my love for comics. Now the creator stuff, that's a totally different issue, right? I mean, that you can let that affect your love for comics, or you can just switch it off and just start really looking at what's on the page. And I encourage that, because comics need it. We're not doing ourselves any favor by dropping the books completely. because a bunch of creators are fighting. And I mean, the sad, honest truth of it is, if you are a straight shooter, if you are, like not doing anything to make waves, and people, they like your content, but they don't really like watching your shows, it's going to be harder to find traction, versus like being outrageous and grabbing people in. The problem is, you have a danger of attracting the wrong audience that doesn't care about comics when you do that. But I mean, to just say all the creators are fighting, I'm sick and tired of comics, I'm done with it. I think that's, you're doing a disservice to yourself. Hojo said, I've been moving away from superhero comics, so finding the indie scene is great to find everything else. You and me both. I've got a lot of superhero stuff that I like, but I just wanted different stuff, especially with all the movies coming out 3-4 times a year. Well, if you add DC, Marvel, and then you get independent stuff, it's like 6 movies a year. I wanted some different stuff, and you're able to find it if you dig, just like a good dollar bin. You dig, you'll find some great stuff. And Michael Bancroft has given me a alternative. He's given me a solution. Just learn learn French to read those books. It's a lot easier to read than speak, I suppose. It probably would be. I get that like throat sound in there. Hojo says, I think most languages are like that, Bancroft. I can read Spanish way easier than I can speak it. A lot of Latin root words are easy to pick out. Now, yeah, it's true. I suppose, I wonder which one would be the biggest. Would it be French or would it be Spanish that has a bigger output for comic books over in Europe? I feel like I'm leaning towards French, but Spanish has an awful lot too, so it'd be interesting. I was learning Spanish for a bit. English and French share 30% of our vocabulary. So he says French would have more. Is that Panini? Are they the ones that is that the big French publisher or comic book publisher over in Europe? I think so. But yes, that's been one thing I've been looking to expand on more, is the Euro albums. I tried some manga. I've got Lone Wolf and Cub, a couple others. It's all right. It's just there's something about it that just doesn't click with me. Beautiful books, beautiful work. It's just it doesn't quite click. Now some of those Euro books, holy crap, just beautiful. Just look at. I love it. And the bigger pages, the bigger books, the different orientations. It's music to my ears. So yes, I would put myself in the yes category here. Panini, like the sandwich? I think so, yeah. Panini are okay. Panini is Italian. That makes sense. I know that publisher though. Yes, like the sandwich. But it is a little concerning to me that there's so dang many people that are just like, comics have dulled for them. And it's even harder that it is a result of all the fighting and kind of the leaking DMs or getting on stream and having the grudge matches and stuff like that. Of all the things to chase you away from comics, that kind of thing should absolutely not be it. But that's the reality we find ourselves in. But you know what? We can combat that easy enough with enthusiasm and getting people excited to read different stuff. Speak with enthusiasm. Show off your books. Talk to other people. Even if you don't talk about books, just talk about your love for comics. I think eventually you'll find that audience, or just a group of friends. That's all you really need. Oh, LE, yes, welcome to the nest. The Chit's very close to done. Bad storytelling is the only thing that drives me away from comics, says Hojo. I can overlook the rest or just choose to ignore it. Comic shout out, says Amanda. Yeah, I think though there's a lot of people trying to get there's a lot of people trying to get famous. There's a lot of people trying to get big audiences. But really, honestly, if you have a small group of people that you can just really share your love of comics with, if it's a chat, like 5 to 15, like of decent or just a group of like 4 or 5 people in a back room talking about comics, you're doing pretty dang well. You know, you've got somebody to kind of keep that conversation going with. I got you, Hojo. Don't worry about it. Ellie says, man, I'm rebagging my old 80s and 90s comics, and I'm falling in love with comics again. Sometimes that's all it takes. Just take a look backwards. Michael Bancroft says, Darga, Typus, Gallant, and less humanoids associates are some of the biggest Franco-Belgian publishers. Oh, I've never heard of it. Well, I think I've heard of the humanoids, possibly. Interesting. I saw someone was reading 1950s Superman. That must have been a big trip. But yeah, sometimes just going back and looking at old comics is enough to spark that again. If whether it was something you loved or just something that looks really good to you and you kind of get into it. And I encourage people to just share that stuff that they're looking at. You don't even have to read it. Just like take a look at this page, book, whatever like that. There's so many ways to communicate how special comics are. Without having to either A, talk about the creators, or B, read the entire thing. You don't even need to read it, but it helps, right? It really does when you're talking about it. But showing off these images and what it does for you, that can help. Anything. I think just talking about it with enthusiasm. At least finding stuff by Lopresti, Art T-Bear, and Rock. T-Bear had a heck of a 90s output. Holy cow. And X-Men and Image and stuff like that. And then Roquefort too. Well, he didn't have a 90s output, but he's got a lot out there. I didn't know because he started to kind of come up when I'd given up on comics, and that's a regret. But I'm able to like look at some stuff in hindsight. Once again, 100 years of comics. Go back and find some great stuff. Go exploring because there's so dang much back there that most of us haven't, chase down these old publishers and see if you can find books from them. Dell, Gold Key, Blackthorn, Comico, Epic, all those old ones from the 80s. They got some great stuff. And most of them, unfortunately, or fortunately for you, are residing in 50-cent and dollar bins all over the place. Get yourself a whole run of stuff that looks good to you. Share it, donate it, give it to somebody else once you're done with it. Talk about it online, post stuff. There's so much you can do just to get excited about what it is you're kind of steeping yourself in with comics. But that being said, we got one more poll to look at here quick, and that is the poll in the chat that I put. Has crowdfunding opened you up to more variety in comics? 81% out of the 26 votes say yes, it has. 19% say no, not really. And maybe those people already had like a ridiculous range anyways. Mr. Von Stugas says, I'll be checking out old Judge Dredd soon. There's some good stuff in there. I've got 2 volumes of the old case files. I got volumes 2 and 3. 3 is the first appearance of Judge Death. There's some great little things in there. And it's weird because it was written for kids, but yet there's some stuff in there that nowadays would probably not necessarily work. But like in the 80s, how 70s and 80s, it was like they can handle it. It's fine. But there's some good stuff in those old Judge Dredd stories. It's weird what they thought of America back then, but it's kind of funny. Oh, Edwin Acevedo, welcome in the nest. We're about wrapping it up. It's good to see you, though. Thank you for stopping by. Once again, we'll end that poll. 27 votes. Yes, 80%. 81% said no. 18% has crowdfunding opened you up to more variety. I'm glad to see that. I am. Any good news is, good news. So with that, let's take down some of these posters here. There goes the music. There goes the banner. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. It was wonderful to talk about comics with you once again. And I will see you when I see you next. God bless.